Now, this may sound shocking in 2019, given all the access to information that we have, but the smoking rate in Israel seems to be on the rise despite anti-smoking campaigns across the country. Almost 20% of Israelis between 16 to 74 smoke. And joining us now to discuss why is Dr. Yael Ben Ze'ev, a public health physician who works with the Israeli Association for Smoking Cessation and Prevention. So I might have exaggerated a little bit when I said the numbers are rising, but they certainly did in the last year. Can you talk to us a little bit about why we're seeing so many Israelis continuing to smoke today?
Well, the truth is that the numbers are basically been the same for the last decade, and we're not seeing them going down. So they've gone down pretty steadily around the years. So in the 1980s, we had about 40% of smoking. So they've been going down pretty steadily. And then we're pretty much in the same place. Now, we have to understand that smoking is an addictive behavior. So people start smoking when they're very young, when they don't understand how highly addictive it is, and then they just continue because they can't stop.
Right, but I mean, in other parts of the world, there is certainly a lot of information being distributed about how bad this habit is for you. Yet here in Israel, we still have 19% of the population that is smoking. So is there another factor here that we're missing?
So there's a lot of measures that you can do in order to tackle smoking. So it's a very complex problem. It's not one solution fits all. And we basically in Israel haven't done what is needed to do in the past few years. We have had really good legislation just passed a year ago, which I hope in the next few years we'll see that smoking rates are lowering, but in the past decade we haven't had anything. So taxes have not been increasing, which is what is I would consider the #1 reason that would lower smoking rates.
People just don't want to pay
ban
extra
on
money.
advertising and sponsorship. So we've only been able to do that right now, but up till now it hasn't been.
So speaking of that, there's been a ban on advertising cigarettes, and we're also seeing now these kind of black boxes, so you can't tell what brand you're smoking when you're smoking. Obviously, you can select when you buy them, but others can't tell what you're smoking. Has that had any type of impact? Or?
So this is actually part of that new legislation, but it's only going into effect from January 8th. So it hasn't actually gone into effect. We've starting to see this in point of sales because the companies are starting to exchange their stock, but they're only going to have to sell this from January 8th. So we're expected to see the effect only in about a year or two. But this is one of the major advances in tobacco control in the latest years. It started with Australia, and other countries have implemented this. It's called plain packaging, but also with graphic warnings. In Israel, unfortunately, the Ministry of Health opposed graphic warnings, so we only have textual warnings. So we're not sure how much of the effect this will have compared to other countries, for example.
Now, speaking about advertising, I mean, there are some who say that advertising truly hasn't been banned for cigarettes. Can you kind of delve into that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's supposed to be a total ban, but one of the things, unfortunately, that we weren't able to do was the fact that we couldn't ban advertising in print media. So Israel is one of the few countries, Western countries, that is still allowed to have ads in print media. Also, there's a lot of concealed advertising. So we still see a lot of smoking in movies, in TV shows. We see them now coming up in video games. There's a lot of direct advertising, a lot of sponsorship for sports events and stuff like that. So there's still a lot of advertising that isn't sort of what you'd see like a billboard. You don't have any billboards, but you still see smoking everywhere.
Well, it's very, very interesting that there's such a high rate of smoking in this country, especially given how advanced it is. But thank you so much for joining us and kind of giving us some background as to why that is the case.
Thank you very much.